to Transformation Tuesday. If you have been following along, you know we usually do this episode the second Tuesday of the month. And we've shifted it up because we have an extremely special guest, and her schedule tonight was the best night for her. And I would make any adjustments I need to make for the guest that is joining us today. And her name is Brenasia Caldwell. Just say hello to her.
Hi, guys.
If this is your first time joining us, you may not know that we started these conversations last year after I wrote my book, The Peer Revolution. There are 68 storytellers in the book, and we started bringing some of those storytellers here on the live to share their stories of transformation in their personal lives and in their professional lives. So that was last year. This year is our 10-year anniversary at Edge Leadership. And in the last 10 years, that's right, give me the snaps because I'm going to take them all. In the 10 years since I founded Edge, more than 10,000 leaders globally have gone through our group coaching experiences. So this year, I get to pick some of the leaders who have personally inspired me in their journey, who have shifted my thinking as a coach, as an entrepreneur, and as a woman. And Brenasia, babe, for me, you are one of those people, and I'm so honored to have you here, my friend. Just watching you pre-Edge, watching you post-Edge, watching you fly this year, is such an inspiration to me. And I'm so honored that you are taking time out of your schedule to share your story with everyone. And with that, I'm just going to step back. I'm going to invite all of you to please drop a note of hello into the comments. Say hey to Brenasia as she introduces herself to you.
Thank you, Christy. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to join you guys this evening. As she mentioned, I'm Brenasia Ward Caldwell. I am originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and I moved here. Actually, August will be 6 years. It's kind of crazy to think by that fast, but I moved here after college for work and spent 5 years working at PNC Bank downtown Pittsburgh. And for the last 7, I guess almost 8 months, I've been working for Microsoft, furthering our cloud security goals and helping some of our customers across the country. But beyond that, I am a lifestyle and tech content creator. So I love sharing not only what it's like being a woman in tech, because that has just kind of been my life. I don't really know anything other than that, but just showing what it looks like to be, a woman, a Black woman living in Pittsburgh, and what different opportunities and options are out there. Because I feel that there's a constant narrative that on what you should be and what you should look like and what you should do. And I'm not for it. Like, I don't do any of that. Just to give you an example, one of the things I did in high school that I've picked back up in the beginning of this year is rowing. And it's been a highlight of my evenings for me to get out there and row in the Allegheny, on top of attending different events around town, hitting the town with my boyfriend, going out with friends, just really enjoying what Pittsburgh has to offer, which I feel like a lot of people kind of miss that. So, thank you, Christy. I'm excited about our chat today.
Oh, me too. So first of all, I did not know that you were rowing.
I am rowing. Yeah, I rowed a couple years in high school. I
Look
rowed in
at that.
2019 pre-COVID, and now I'm sculling. That's with 2 oars, so that's a new style of rowing for me. But
That feels very, I just got overwhelmed. Could you see it on my face? It's like, whoa, boy, that feels like a lot.
it's a lot to manage when you're out there on the water trying to dodge the buoys and the boats. So,
Wow.
but yeah, that's it's been my latest hobby for the summer.
I think that is a great hobby for the summer.
Yeah, helps get through
Something I have never tried, but I've always had an interest. What I love, at least in my mind's eye, about what rowing is, from the friends that I've had, I love the like the synchronicity of it with other people. Like, it requires such a connection and to be aligned, and there's something about that that's really appealing to me.
Well, it's like I think you're spot on. It definitely requires that connection, but something that I have noticed about myself, it's about a lot of personal lessons. It's like
Mm,
slowing down too to meet other
mm,
people where they're at. And if you're not necessarily the person leading the stroke or leading the boat, you need to be able to follow the others. And I think, well, I do have lots of leadership qualities and they've all been more embodied after Edge. I think sometimes I have to learn to take a step back and follow and not necessarily always be that leader or that first person to raise my hand, which I think we might get into later in our conversation. But
mm.
that's a big thing I have been kind of personally learning while rowing on top of, the physical act, the physical aspect.
Sure. Sure. And that doesn't surprise me, my friend, as you share that, because one of the qualities of you that I appreciate so much is your intentionality. So it doesn't surprise me that even in a hobby, you are finding the lessons.
Yeah, you
It's a
got to.
very Brenasia
As
thing.
they say, the coach says everybody's working on something.
Everybody's working on something. So speaking of everybody's working on something, if you could, my friend, share your story, your transformation story in your words. So the one of the big reasons why I like to bring storytellers here on this live is to show people that reinvention is possible. And that we have that opportunity truly at every moment in our lives. We can reframe, we can reinvent. And I'd love it if you could set the stage a little bit for the folks listening in tonight around, the Brenasia, as you said, pre-edge, where you were personally and professionally, and then what shifted and how.
Yeah. So pre-Edge Bernasia, what a girl.
Well, I knew her. I liked the pre-edge Brenasia too.
So I would say personally, um, I think things were pretty good personally. I had just decided to go to grad school, which was a big decision, to take on going to grad school at Carnegie Mellon. Um, I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go from a tech perspective, what I wanted to do next within my career. Um, and I was proud. I was very proud of that stage. Like personally, I made that big decision. My boyfriend, things with my boyfriend are going great. I decided I'll give up my social life to go back to school. But professionally, I was kind of in an interesting place. I was kind of in a place where I worked really hard and I would just kind of wait and to see what would happen or what my feedback or reward would be. And I kind of always had this idea like, if you're good at what you do, those good things will come. And, but that also, shouldn't go hand in hand about thinking, what do you want? And asking for what you want and, feeling okay about
Yeah.
asking for what will satisfy you. And I was in a tough spot because I felt like I'd already been given so much, but I kind of felt guilty for wanting
More.
more for myself, which sounds kind of crazy as I voice that now. And I was worried about like upsetting relationships with my colleagues if I were to start asking for more, and just what were the optics, what would that look like, and just I think overall not wanting to seem greedy. And I think that's something that like women are often plagued with, feeling greedy for asking like what they want or what will make them happier or what will satiate them. And I think for me, like doing Edge, what really helped kind of shift my perspective was just hearing a bunch of women in various stages of their career make strong and scary decisions surrounding putting themselves first. And I think up until choosing to go to grad school, my strong and scary decision was deciding to pick my whole life up and move to Pittsburgh for a job. And I can't say if I think, I hadn't really made any harder, stronger, scarier decisions other than, deciding to take on more student loan debt. But, I I there was a woman in my Edge cohort, um, who, and I asked for her permission before sharing this, but she would share with our group about, some of the things that she was dealing with personally, health wise. And, she had a pretty high up job, and, she was a decision maker. And, we're hearing about that 1 month. And then 2 months later, she shares with us that she quit.
She really did.
She, I economy, but like, wow. I have a boyfriend, but it's me and my cat. I'm not a mom with a husband and a family. That is a scary decision to make. And I'm like, if she has all of that on her plate, I can make this, what feels to be a much smaller decision in comparison, but as equally as important
There you go.
for me to her, is to start, putting myself first, and thinking about, well, what does Brenasia want? What is in the cards for, 5 years from now? Like, I have to be intentional about this. And if I have these goals that I want to hit, I have to take action, take ownership. And so I really, that was a huge shift, in the narrative for me.
Yeah, I love that. And it is like, to me, so much the power of a peer group. And, Edge is a program, it's amazing. It's our flagship. I love it. But the reality is, all of us, have the opportunity to find a peer group and to be able to be inspired by others. Like what you are saying of, one person's choice inspires another person's choice. Well, if she can do it, maybe I can do it. And she's big and bold, and the world did not end, and she got what she wanted. And how beautiful is all of that. Like, I often say that about vulnerability. Like, vulnerability begets vulnerability. So does courage. If we wait until we are not afraid to live our lives, my friends, we won't live. We
No.
just won't. We have to do it anyway. We have to see it and say something anyway. We have to leap anyway.
And I think for me too, I remember, like, when I got my Edge letter in the mail, and I was, reading and talking to people about it. And then I, had my first session. And I have to say, I was a little intimidated, because I think at that time, I think I was probably 26.
Yeah.
And it was intimidating being on the younger side, full of these like so established women, and that are in places where I aspired to be, but didn't really feel it in the sense. And after having some of these peer, conversations, and being vulnerable, I'm like, we all are dealing with the same thoughts. Like, no matter what age you are at, like, level in your career, as women, the same things are all going through our head. And I found that to be super powerful. And it allowed me to immediately open up and be vulnerable, because it is nerve wracking, going through some of the exercises that we go through with people you just met maybe 30 minutes prior.
And it does take courage to
Yeah.
do that, truly. It absolutely does. And I think the other thing that comes up for me as I, listen to your words, and especially as an influencer on social media, which you are, I think it can be so hard for us to admit the parts and pieces of our lives that aren't working the way that we want, because we see just this small part of what feels like everyone else's lives. Everyone else has it together. And it's one of the things that I love about following you, is that you're real and you're authentic, and you showcase who you are, genuinely who you are, not who you are trying to be for someone else.
Yeah, what you see is what you get, man.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And so, what would you say now, reflecting back on Edge, because you have the opportunity to have a little bit of reflection from your continuation to where you are now? What were your top three takeaways? Like, what were the gifts of that experience for you?
I think so at least my number one, and this is one that when I share with people that I've done Edge and how transformative it was for me, I love sharing with them, building my Pinterest board for my life.
I was hoping you were going to talk about this. I wasn't bringing it up because I didn't have your permission to bring it up. But your Pinterest board is one of my favorite things about my
Yeah.
relationship with you.
And I love Pinterest just like the average millennial. And I've never really thought about thinking of my life like that. You curate your pin boards, and you put ideas on the kitchen or your bedroom ideas, but what about your life? And so I know through one of our sessions with Christy, we had that discussion, and I remember going home and writing on my iPad, what do I want? And it may sound almost like why didn't you think of that before? But sometimes I wasn't really granting myself permission to do that before. And I kid you not, writing down every single thing that I wanted on that board, it's come true. And I wish I could say like, oh, this, you're just saying that because no,
No.
like it's there. And I think that was my biggest takeaway is doing that. And not only that one time, I'm constantly doing it
There
now,
you are.
because it's allowing me to move quicker and be more decisive when opportunities are coming my way versus questioning why are they coming my way. So I would say Pinteresting my life now is a big takeaway. I would say the second.
Wait, before you go, may I share
Sure.
my experience?
Yeah.
So, that came out of our office hours, didn't it? That we were
Yeah.
talking one on one. I thought so.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I loved about this idea, because it didn't start that you were going to do a vision board or something. It was really around that clarity of what do I want. And I talk with so many, and I'm not just women and those identifying with femininity, but folks across the gender spectrum, folks across the generations who so often feel like they are, how do I want to say this? They're doing what they should be doing. They're doing what they need to do, what they
Yeah.
have to do, what they must do. And when you were talking earlier about, you were in a role and you were in a job and it was good. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't what you wanted. And how beautiful it is to be able to stop for a second with everything that society and the world puts on us, and that we then also internalize and put on ourselves without even realizing we have this internal checklist of what I need to do and have to do and should do. And to have the courage to write that on your iPad and say, what do I want?
Yeah.
What do I want? It's a big, powerful question.
Yeah. And when I started to kind of think in that fashion, it just also trickled into other aspects of my life, things that, I might have wanted to try, but different but didn't. And it's like, if I want to say I want to do rowing again, I'll pick it up and find it. So it's been really nice to just kind of have that freedom to say, what do I want? And something I tell my younger sister, when she was just starting college, I would tell her, you get to curate the life you want.
Amen.
And I think there got to be a point where I stopped curating the life I want and was just living through the life I was given. And and it's been fun getting to curate, and it's re-energizing. So that's probably my biggest takeaway. I mean, it's those office hours were very transformative for me, Christy.
That makes me happy to hear. My friend, I am not the least bit surprised that what you put on your Pinterest board has come true, and I love that you're still putting more on it, right? Because we are ever evolving,
Yeah,
and and that was what you set for yourself, and now that you have achieved it, you can ask yourself, all right, what do I want now? What do I want next?
exactly.
I
Uh,
love it. All right, so that was your first one. What were your other two? I totally interrupted you, and thank you for the opportunity.
so I think I touched on my second one a little earlier, but like I think being vulnerable is okay. Um, and I think being as vulnerable as I was in Edge, I think it's allowed me to be a more vulnerable content creator. Um, it's allowed me to be more vulnerable at work. Starting a new, I'm not like the typical millennial that goes from company to company. Starting a new job was it had a lot of times where I was very vulnerable and being honest about like what I'm feeling. And I kept thinking, why wasn't anyone else that I was telling I'm going to go to a new job telling me what to expect other than a new job? So I've been more vulnerable and just sharing, what's that like? What is that experience? Where's the positives that you're finding in this in being vulnerable? So I think, on that and just with the community that I've built on Instagram and TikTok, that aspect of vulnerability, that's where people connect. I think we're moving, when thinking about social media, I think we're moving away from the performative curated feeds and people want to find people that they can relate to. I know I do.
I do.
I want to find someone that I can identify with, and so I think that was definitely my one of my biggest takeaways is just being vulnerability is okay,
Yeah.
and I think the third, and this might have been an office hour one, but test those relationships that you're kind of scared to shake up, because you're doing the right thing,
Yeah.
you're doing what's okay, and I know I love, meeting people, building relationships, and keeping those relationships that I have built. And so anything that I think previously I would just be nervous that a decision I would make would upset that because I
Yeah.
don't like upset people.
I know that.
And I don't think anyone does. And
Mhm.
so I think understanding it's okay to test the relationship if you're making that decision for yourself. It's going to bring you closer to what you want, because you're not that those people, they're not going to be in that immediate sphere of influence forever, and the same could be said about them in talking with you. So I would say those are my big three takeaways.
I love it. I love it. And believe it or not, we are out of time. I can't even believe how fast this went. If you could leave us with anything. So there's a person out there right now listening saying, I don't know if I could be that big and bold. I don't know if I could, reinvent myself. What is the one piece of advice you'd give them?
I would say do it while scared. Doing anything new, different is so uncomfortable, but just do it. Like, do go move past those feelings. It's just because you're doing something new. And I can say that with rowing, when I decided to pick up two oars instead of one, that was uncomfortable. My first practice, I left in tears. But 8 weeks later, you catch me out there Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. So do it while scared because you have some life to live and you won't be scared forever.
Mm. All right. With that, I mean, I can't even say anything other than what she said. That's what I want to say. What she said. All right, my friends, thank you for joining us. I hope you are leaving here, this little corner of the internet, feeling more inspired than when you came. And also, perhaps feeling a little more courageous because today, more than ever before, we need leaders willing to challenge the status quo of their lives, of their companies, of our regions, of the world, and inspire other people to do the same. Thank you, Brenasia. You inspire me, my friend, and I'm so grateful to know you.
Thank you, Christy.
So long, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Drop a comment below and let us know what really resonated with you. Until next time. Until next time, so long,